Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What's up, everybody? It's Tristan Gomes here on Ticket Weekends. Not Ticket Weeknights. We'll get that figured out for you, I promise. Gloomy Saturday here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Had a little bit of rain earlier, but that's cleared up just a bit. But we can't complain too much because we got college football today. And there's some good matchups, and we have some good games that we'll talk about. Feel free to text in if you want to give your takes on any games, whether it's the Husker football game on Thursday, or if you're thinking Ohio State, Texas. If you got any thoughts, feel free to text in on the text line, Starter Heyman, 402-464-5685. So let's get into it. A lot of college football happening right now. We'll touch on the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Texas Longhorns at the Shoe. Ohio State wins that one 14-7 in what was a very defensive game. I think this is what a lot of people expected out of this game when you have two quarterbacks that have really, Arch Manning has started previously. I think he had a start last year against Louisiana Monroe. But other than that, he hasn't had a, big, tough football game start in his college career. And then same with Julian Sain making his first career start for the Buckeyes. And my thought process going into this game was it's going to be whoever takes care of the ball the best, minimizes the turnovers. But then also when it just came to the offense, it was how much can you help your defense? And I think Ohio State did a little bit better job on that. I mean, they intercept Arch Manning late in the fourth, and I think that almost sealed the deal. Texas did go on to score, but Ohio State's defense looked unbelievable, especially at the goal line. You get a 4th and goal, you get a QB sneak from Arch Manning, and he goes absolutely nowhere. And it's hard to say how good either of these quarterbacks are because you're playing two of top 5 defenses in the country. So I know it wasn't Arch Manning's best performance in his first Power 4 college start. Wasn't his best performance, but I still think he did his job. Didn't do enough, I think, to give Texas the victory, but against Ohio State defense like that, it's huge. We got a text from the text line from Bill and Bennett. How far do you think Texas will drop in the rankings after that loss today? I don't think you can drop them too far. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you almost just flip spots. You give Ohio State that number 1 spot and you give Texas the 3, maybe the 4 or the 5, just because, yes, they do have a loss. But like I said, two of the best defenses, I think, in the country. And I think we're going to continue to see that the entire year. It was just hard-nosed football. It was tough to get anything rolling on either side. I think Julian Sain did a great job, though, of almost just managing. He didn't try to be a hero, do any, crazy plays, because I saw a great tweet that Julian Sain just needs to steer the Lamborghini. He doesn't need to, even step on the gas or anything. He has the weapons. He has everything else going for him. All he has to do is steer it and make no mistakes when it comes to that. And I think that's exactly what he did today and did enough for them to win. I mean, 13 for 20, 126 yards and a touchdown. Nothing to write home about, nothing extraordinary, but they get the win, and that's all that matters, especially when you're playing a top 5 matchup, one of the, you know, highest rated opening weekends there ever has been in college football, and we got it. Probably wanted to see a little bit more offense, but that's just me, offensive mindset guy. But I do appreciate what happened today, and I love watching good defense. You can't complain about that, and it seems like Ohio State maybe just had a better game plan when it came to shutting down Texas's offense. With that being said, let's get into Nebraska Cincinnati. Let's talk about the Cornhuskers a little bit, and just any takes. If, like I said, if you got any takes on Nebraska's performance on Thursday or what you would like to see a little bit more of, what you appreciate that you saw, feel free to text in 402-464-5685. I kind of want to talk a little bit of quarterback play. I think there were a few people, including myself, that wanted to see Nebraska air it out a little bit more, take a few, not even shots downfield, but, look downfield at least. I think every big play seemed like it was maybe, 15 yards, and that was about it. And I think a lot of people said like Raiola was checking down a lot. He was not, really forcing those, which you love to see, especially from him coming off his freshman season, where I think last year we saw him a little bit try to make the extraordinary play because in high school he easily could. And this last year, a few forced throws, few interceptions. I really liked how he managed that game on Thursday. It seemed like he wasn't trying to be a hero, wasn't going for the long ball every time, took the cape off and said, all right, if you're going to give me 5 yards, I'll take my 5 yards. And that's exactly what he did. And it was beautiful to watch. 33 for 42 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'll be honest, watching that game, I would not have thought that was his stat line. I think it was maybe just because it was a lot of, just dink and dive, nothing too crazy, but it worked. I would love to see Nebraska, though. I'm maybe score a little bit faster, if that makes sense. You watch the Ohio States, where I mean that wasn't the case today, but last year you watch the Oregons, you watch the Georgias, the Texas. When their offense is on the field, I think they understand like, all right, our job is to score. Let's do it as fast as we can. Let's do it efficiently. Let's just move. Where I think Nebraska at times can hold on to the ball a little bit too long, or maybe it's just, like 3 yards. We're having a lot of third downs that, it gets tougher and tougher to convert those. And, it's not very often. I think I'm hoping this is not the case this year. But last year, it seemed like there were quite a few drives that was like, all right, Nebraska's offense has had the ball for 6-7 minutes, and we still end up without points. And it's like, if that's the case, like we gotta find a way to be a little bit more efficient, and put some points on the board, or even just make it seem like we can go quick, we can go a little bit faster. But they could just have been minimizing the playbook a little bit. We're not going to show our whole hand on, the first hand, right? We're going to take our time, not show everything we're working with, not take our best passing schemes and just implement them week one so that we can't use them against Michigan or Michigan's ready for it. So I totally understand it from that aspect. And AD and Demo on the pregame on Thursday had a great conversation. AD was talking about how he just wants Nebraska to win. Just win, which I was totally on board with. And Demo and Austin both were like, what? I want them to dominate. I want them to go out there and just show them who's the boss and just dominate. And if we are being really honest with ourselves, that's not what Nebraska has been these couple of last years. And quite frankly, if it was a one-score game, it seemed like Nebraska was always on the losing end. So as much as we want to see Nebraska out there and the Cornhuskers just absolutely dominating, just finding a way to win when it comes fourth quarter is all that I really care about, and I think most Nebraska fans care about. We can fall into the coach speak and, the preseason hype, but when it comes game time, I don't care how you do it. Just find a way to win, and make sure you're getting your weapons the ball. Speaking of weapons, Emmett Johnson, I got him as a 1,000-yard rusher. Nebraska hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher in a season since Divine Ozigbo in 2018. So it's been a while. And based on what I saw from Emmett on Thursday, he could easily be a guy to do it. He runs hard. When he gets the ball, it seems like he's a man on the mission. He's not indecisive on where is he going, if he's got to lower his shoulder or not, if he's got to make a move. It seems like he's just confident, has that experience where you give him the ball, we can expect good things to happen. And from Mosey and Nelson, they got a few opportunities. And it's their, first time out there. I don't expect them to go out there and just, you give them the ball and they're running guys over and getting 10, 15 yards. But you could tell there was a little bit of a difference from Emmett and those other guys. And I think that's just experience. Emmett's older and he's got a lot of rushing yards already under his belt. But I'm expecting a 1,000-yard season from him if he, one, can stay healthy, which we always pray for. But also if he just gets the ball. I think Nebraska and Holgerson is going to understand, like, all right, we have weapons on the outside, which we 100% saw. But we also have a running back that can take some big hits and he can carry the rock consistently. And we don't have to worry about him, getting tired or anything. He's just a workhorse. You give him the ball, he's going to make something happen. So extremely happy with Emmett Johnson. And then you have Nazia Hunter and Dane Key. Those additions were awesome. Even Ja'Cory Barney, who we saw last year, it seemed like they're really trying to get him involved. And I love seeing him on punt return. I was talking to, I want to say, Harrison the other day about how Alabama in the Nick Saban era had their best player on punt return, returning punts. It was Jalen Waddle. It was Jahmyr Gibbs. It was Devontae Smith. Like, they put their best guys out there because that's an opportunity to give that guy a ball, hopefully with a little bit of open space, and see if he can make something happen. And with Ja'Cory Barney, I think that's the exact thought process of Mike Eckler's. Hey, let's get this guy the ball, and if he has space, we're going to let him run a little bit. He's probably the fastest guy in the field. And if we give him just a tiny bit of open space, that's a touchdown, and that can change the game. Maybe not even touchdown, but just good field position. I feel like that's been a thing in past years that we haven't seen a whole bunch of. It's just special teams, returns being extraordinary, which I would love to see a little bit more. And it's so funny because I've talked to, a few people, my parents who were at the University of Nebraska when they were winning national championships in the 90s, and other people. And they were like, it's crazy how many times it just seemed like the game started with Nebraska returning the opening kickoff. And I was like, how cool would that just be if we're at Memorial Stadium, especially against Michigan or a Big Ten game, and we get the opening kickoff and we run it all the way back. That would be extraordinary. And that just would get Memorial Stadium fired up. It sets the tone for the game, saying, yeah, we're here to play. We're ready to play. And I would love to see it. And I think if you have some weapons back there on, kick return and punt return, then that's easily more capable of happening. Moving on to just some of the games right now, or games that have finished up today in college football. Tennessee and Syracuse. Tennessee, number 24, wins 45-26 in Neyland with a new quarterback. There was a whole bunch of controversy and, question marks going on in Knoxville just with the quarterback play. What are we going to get? Nico's gone. We thought he was going to be our guy for especially, the next 2 years at least. And he's gone. You get a transfer quarterback, coincidentally enough, from UCLA, and he balls out and they win quite easily. Win by 19 at home against another Power 4, which I really appreciate, even if it's, Syracuse, who isn't the greatest team, and in the ACC, I still really appreciate when these Power 4 schools are playing other Power 4 schools in the preseason. I think it's easier to understand what your team's identity is. You're playing against better competition, and you understand, what needs to be better and who we really are. I think some teams fall into this trap where, they play a few just kind of easy cakewalk games that, are going to be easy wins on the, record sheet. But after that, you get into Big Ten play and you're not ready for, the hard hitting guys. You're not ready for the fast offense. You're not ready for all that. And I'm looking at Indiana's schedule right now. They're up 17-7 on Old Dominion. Next week, they have Kennesaw State. And the following week, they play Indiana State. So I expect a little bit more from the teams that do go out of their way to play these Power 4 teams, just because they understand, like, all right, these these teams found these as our weaknesses. We can solve this. We can come back better next week. But if you're just cakewalking and everything's coming at you very easy, once you do start to face some adversity, it makes it way tougher to cope with that and adjust. So I think it's great that Nebraska did play another Power 4 team in Cincinnati. Tennessee playing Syracuse, huge. Obviously, Texas, Ohio State. What a ball game. Just the history of both universities there. Going through a few of these other games, Georgia and Marshall going on right now. Georgia up 14-0 early in the first quarter, what I would expect. Alabama at Florida State. Alabama up early, scored first drive of the game for them. Ty Simpson, 3 for 4, 25 yards and a touchdown. Also has 3 carries for 17 yards. So Ty Simpson, it's a new era in Tuscaloosa. We're in Kalen DeBoer's second season. And I'm not super high on the Crimson Tide. If you are, let me know. And let me know why. I'm curious. I always want to hear, what other people are thinking about these schools and what they should be high on, what we should see as maybe a few red flags, some green flags. So let me know. I do think it just seems like there's a different vibe since Nick Saban left. It seems like he had that place just 100% under control, no nonsense. And they showed up every Saturday and they balled out. And the only times that Nick Saban lost was when he probably played a team that ended up winning the national championship, if we're being quite frank. It was either Georgia lost to LSU that year, they win a national championship. It seems like any time that they lost in the Saban era, it was to the national champions. But I just don't feel like they are going to get the same results they want from Kalen DeBoer. Moving on. Nevada and Penn State. Penn State up 10-0 early at the end of the first quarter. Penn State at number 2. They have a lot of guys returning, and they have a lot of their top talents returning. So I totally understand the reasoning for putting them at 2. But I think of it this way just a little bit. You have all these guys returning, which is huge in college football. The experience is huge. But if you didn't get it done last year with these guys that are returning, how can you expect that you are going to get it done this year? And you have the same talent, and yes, guys got better. Guys probably got stronger. They understand the game a little bit more. But I think if Penn State's really going to win this year, it's going to come down to James Franklin. And if they don't, I'm going to blame it 100% on coaching. I mean, they have the talent. They have a returning quarterback, and the experience in college football at the quarterback position is huge. But James Franklin hasn't won the big game. And you could argue, well, he won 2 games in the college football playoff last year. Yes, to SMU and to Boise State. He had an opportunity against Notre Dame, and he didn't win. He played Ohio State last year at home, didn't do it. So I'm not super high on them. I don't think there's any reason not to put them at 2. I understand that they are a really good football club, and they have a lot of great athletes returning. So I'm not going to harp too much on Penn State at 2, but I want to see if they can actually prove it this year. Is this going to be the year that Penn State really does it? And if not, then what do you do with James Franklin? I don't think you get rid of him because it's tough to find a really good head coach in college football these days that could, keep them as this top 5 team. But when you have James Franklin saying this is the best roster that Penn State has ever had, and if they don't come through with a national championship, then what do you do? What do you do with James Franklin? Moving on. The Ducks. I'm a Ducks fan. Whole dad's side of the family's from Eugene. Girlfriend graduated from Eugene. And they're up 14-0 early against Montana State, against the Bobcats. Montana State ranks number 2nd in FCS right now. And so I was a little nervous for the Ducks, just knowing that, these can be some trap games. These teams that, like Montana State, they have a winning culture. So they expect to win. No matter who they're playing, they expect to win. And that's just been the case for them. So when they do play a big team, they're ready to go. Dante Moore, 2 for 2 for 25 yards and a touchdown to Kenyon Sadiq. And who had their other touchdown? I'll have to figure that out. But Oregon up 14-0 early with 9 minutes left in the first quarter. So they scored quick. Curious if they had a defensive touchdown. I would love if they did that. I always love defensive touchdowns. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, Now I want to talk a little bit of quarterback play, and we'll kind of transition this into the second segment. But looking at the college football landscape, I'm curious what makes a really good quarterback. Maybe not even a really good quarterback. Let's talk more just good quarterback. What's a good college football quarterback look like? Because there's always going to be the Johnny Manziel, or not always, but there are the Johnny Manziels, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows, the Cam Newtons, the Baker Mayfields. There's those guys out there that are on a different level. And you can't expect that out of just anyone. Marcus Mariota, another example. You can't expect that out of any quarterback because those are the types of quarterbacks that no matter what the situation is, you're afraid that the ball is in their hands. And you think there's a way that this guy could find a way into the end zone right now, whether it's passing it, whether it's running it, whatever it is. It seems like in college football, there are those select few quarterbacks that are just kind of unicorns. But I'm curious what makes just a good college football quarterback. I would say Dylan Raiola, good college football quarterback. You know, based on what we saw last year as a true freshman, was impressive. I think it was either 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, or 11 interceptions, not or 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So one of those very kind of similar numbers, nothing extraordinary, but better in the turnover margin. And going into this year, I think Dylan Raiola, good college football quarterback. I look at Iowa State, who won last week in Dublin and is currently playing South Dakota right now. I look at their quarterback, Rocco Beck, good quarterback. Nothing extraordinary. Like, you're not expecting him to make a Lamar Jackson, Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton type of play, but they manage the game well. I think that's what makes a good quarterback is just one, understanding what's going on, understanding the time, the possession we have right now, and what we have to do, and take care of the ball. Taking care of the ball is the number one. If you're a quarterback, you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you're turning the ball over, whether it's fumbling or forcing bad throws that turn into interceptions, you can't expect any success. And I think that's what I would say for Raiola on Thursday. Took care of the ball. Took care of the ball extremely well and did what he needed to do in order for Nebraska to win that game. I mean, Nebraska was on the 1 yard line. We have a false start. I think that needs to be turned into a touchdown, especially if Nebraska wants to compete. If they do want to be a college football playoff team or be at the top of the Big Ten, when you have these opportunities to score, you have to really take advantage of them. And you got to score. You get backed up to the 6 yard line. You have 3 downs. It's still 1st and goal, and we don't get in the end zone. I think it's week 1, so I'm not going to harp on it too much or think it's the end of the world. But when it comes to conference play, when we have those great opportunities, you got to take advantage of them. And there's a lot to learn, but also happy with what Dylan's doing so far in his career and after week 1. Other quarterbacks I'm trying to think of that are just good quarterbacks. I mean, I'll even think of some past ones that were not extraordinary, but they just did the job. I'm trying to think of a few guys, and I'm just kind of drawing a blank. I think like Christian Hackenberg from Penn State. I mean, that's another one where it seems like all these Penn State quarterbacks are just good. Mac Jones. Mac Jones had Devontae Smith, and he got him the ball as much as he could. He wasn't extraordinary. He wasn't going to light up the field, but he got the ball to his weapons, and he took care of the ball and ended up winning a national title. So those are just a few other guys that I think make a good quarterback. And I think the also is recognizing who you are. I think Dylan understands very well who he is compared to last year. He's really learning who he is as a quarterback. He's a guy that can air it out, but he also knows he has a great IQ. He'll take what you can give him. He's not going to, be lightning fast. And when he breaks, through the pocket or steps up and gets through, he's not going to be a guy that's running, 60, 70 yards. But you have to worry about that a little bit. He doesn't think he's that guy, and he knows the weapons he has around him. Dane Key, I was super high on, and watching him get into the end zone was awesome. Luke Lindenmeyer, another weapon that I'm excited to see. He just seems like he's a workhorse, and he just bleeds Husker football. He finds a way to make a positive impact on the game, whether it's blocking up front. It seemed like he did a great job of that, and just his stature. He's a kind of a matchup nightmare. Who do you put on him? You can't put a cornerback on him. obviously. You can't, even a safety's pretty tough. You got to put a linebacker, and teams like Luke Lindemeyer's speed has increased every year. He's been in Nebraska, and he's a homegrown guy who just wants to win. So I'm super high on these weapons that Nebraska has, and if they can continue to spread the ball around, which I think they will, I think the playbook is going to, progressively open up more and more. And by the time we get to Michigan, there's going to be even more things that are, in the arsenal. And I'm ready to just see Nebraska execute getting the ball down the field a little bit, taking a shot every so often, putting the defense on their heels, thinking, all right, we got to protect the deep ball here because we know Dylan can air it out, but we also have to worry about Emmett Johnson, who I believe is one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. And I think if Nebraska can be a two-dimensional offense this year, it'll solve a lot of problems. Because in the past, I think we've seen Nebraska maybe struggle in the passing game or struggle in the run game, and it's just kind of one-dimensional. I think Dan Holgerson has a great just hands-on idea of what he wants and play calling, and I think it's just going to progressively get better. So with that being said, we'll head to our first break. If you got any comments, questions, college football Saturday, it's a beautiful day. We'll talk about some upcoming games later today and even into tomorrow, which we got a top 10 matchup in that we'll touch on. But let's enjoy the Saturday, and we'll be right back after this.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
M-Suits Clothiers, Lincoln's favorite men's store, is having their end-of-season clearance sale. End-of-season clearance is going on now with up to 75% off. Stop in now for the best selection on polos, sport shirts, suits, sport coats, dress pants, and dress shirts. Suits as low as $299, sport coats starting at $199, dress shirts as low as $69, and polos starting at $49. M-Suits Clothiers is located 1 block south of 56th and Pine Lake Road. M-Suits Clothiers, your menswear store.
Hey fans, there's more winning at Amigos with the VIP Game Day giveaway. Every app scan is your chance to win premium tickets to a Nebraska football, basketball, and volleyball game, along with exclusive game day perks. And when Nebraska goes to a bowl, the winner also gets 2 tickets, lodging, and airfare to the bowl game. Weekly semifinalists will win free food for a year. Go Big Red. Eat at Amigos and enter to win.
Amigos is celebrating 45 years with exclusive Nebraska Legends collectible cups featuring Tom Osborne, John Cook, and some of your favorite Huskers. For every cup sold, 50 cents goes to teammates. Show your Big Red pride by getting all 4 of these collectible cups at Amigos.
This is Tom Osborne with the Teammates Mentoring Program. We have students on the waiting list for a mentor. We want you to join the team. Learn more about mentoring and support teammates by visiting Amigos.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Stocking top models from Can-Am, Kawasaki, Honda, Polaris, CF Moto, Suzuki, Yamaha, Indian Motorcycle, Sea-Doo, and Triton trailers. Score big on our massive selection of Can-Am side-by-sides with rebates up to $3,000 on select in-stock models. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location. They can't wait to get you set up for football season.
Need a tractor that works as hard as you do? Whether you're baling hay or feeding cattle, a John Deere 6M or 6R from Landmark Implement is built to handle it all. And right now, you can get 0% fixed rate financing for up to 72 months on new in-stock models. That's 6 years with 0 interest on the tractor your operation depends on. Hurry into your local Landmark Implement or visit landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Old School with Foreman and Orman.
Any tips for a dad who just volunteered to be a YMCA flag football coach less than a week before the season started because no one else had volunteered to coach the 5th graders up to that point?
Tylenol for your headache.
Put some in your cup. Put some in your cup, and make sure your contract is 1 year only.
Medicate, bro.
Frank Reich. Frank Reich at Stanford.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Ticket Weekends. It's Tristan Gomes here hanging out with you on a rainy Saturday here in Lincoln. Maybe a good thing they played Thursday down in Kansas City, and the showing from the Husker fans was unbelievable. I think I saw a video of a few Cincinnati fans just saying how, I mean, even their head coach said it. They were like, we were the home team. That didn't even feel like anywhere near a home game. That doesn't even count as a home game, which is understandable. I mean, it seemed like when Cincinnati scored, it was just crickets. You couldn't hear a single thing in that stadium. Rightfully so. The Husker faithful showed up and showed out and got that place rocking. I don't know if it's the shape of how Arrowhead is made or what it is about the stadium, but that place gets loud. And Husker fans really showed that they're some of the best fans in college football. And it was fun to see. It was fun to see just, friends, family down there enjoying the game. And it just feels fall is in the air. Husker football is in the air. And we're back at it. Text from Bill and Bennett. Has there been any word on how long Bonner will be out yet? Not sure. I was actually thinking about that just yesterday. That was a pretty devastating hit that he took, and it did not look great. He did get up, though, which, I mean, is always good to see, but you could definitely see that he was in quite a lot of pain. Hoping to get him back out there because he's just another one of those weapons. It seems like this is, Nebraska year after year, especially with Matt Rule, has continued to give their quarterbacks more weapons, find guys that, they can get the ball to confidently and really spread it out, which you just absolutely love to see. And I'm curious if that just is maybe even the 5-star Raiola effect. If that's because, you see Dylan Raiola, a top, quarterback in the country coming out of high school, pick Nebraska, over Georgia, and then these other 4 or 5 stars, they look at this and they go, oh, Nebraska's a place I can go. I mean, that's a place where, 4 and 5 stars do go and can excel, can develop. And I think it's so great of having Matt Rule, who has been in the NFL, who understands what, an NFL player looks like, what that caliber is, and knows, how to get them there and has all these connections. I think that makes it even a better landing spot for Nebraska. Do they still have a while to compete with the top of the Big Ten and the Oregon and the Ohio State and the Penn State and the Michigan? Absolutely. But I think that's just because of the winning aspect. Once Nebraska, if they have a great season this year, we get more, 8 wins in the regular season, 9 wins, then I think we can expect more of these recruits to go, okay, yeah, this is a place where, 1, I can get to the next level, but 2, we're contending against these top teams. Because I think that's the only thing that's setting those other schools apart from Nebraska is just they have this resume in recent years of just constantly winning. And that makes it so much easier for these recruits to go, okay, yeah, I'm a 5-star. I'll go to 1, or they'll pay me. But Nebraska-wise, they're competing up there when it comes to the NIL. It's tough to compete with the Oregon and Ohio State. But when it comes to just college football in general, Nebraska is way up there compared to some other schools, even Power 4 schools. And so they have the resources, they have the facilities, they have the coaching, they're getting the players. All you have to do now is win, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of these highly touted recruits and even transfers with the transfer portal these days. So many more recruits saying, yeah, I'm going to go to Lincoln, Nebraska. We're going to win football games, and they're going to get me ready to play at this next level, which is what you ask for as a player, especially out of high school, especially if you're a transfer, a highly touted transfer. You want somewhere where you can play and even just get better. Um, so I love that, and I think just winning is going to change everything for the Huskers. Back to some games, some upcoming games we have. Let's just talk about some ranked opponents or ranked teams that have games today. Illinois State at Oklahoma. I expect Oklahoma to handle that pretty well. I'm really excited for that Oklahoma-Michigan game next week, I believe. That'll be a really fun one between two teams that, didn't have their best year last year and really need a rebound. So excited for that one. I got Oklahoma winning today. Texas A&M against UTSA against the Roadrunners. I got the Aggies in that one. I don't think that's going to be much of a game, especially down in College Station. That place gets rowdy. They're probably just as excited as us Husker fans about college football. I don't have a whole bunch of nice things to say about Texas A&M, but I do think they're going to pull this one out. 17, Kansas State, still ranked 17 because they have not come out with new rankings. I do expect them to drop, but they're hosting North Dakota tonight at 6. Curious to see how Avery Johnson and just the Wildcats bounce back, especially after losing one of their best players in Donovan Edwards, I believe, as their running back. Said he's entering the transfer portal, as there were some promises that were not met by the Wildcat coaching staff. That's the drama. That's the world we live in, where guys are leaving the team middle of the season because maybe they didn't get enough money, maybe they didn't get enough playing time. But unfortunate, that's what we're in. Seeing how the Wildcats bounce back. It's a long season. Don't let Dublin, Ireland ruin a whole great season you have ahead of you. With that being said, I'm not super high on the Wildcats after just kind of all the drama happening after week 0. Florida playing Long Island, I believe. It's LIU is what I'm seeing right here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize. Texas Tech, another team with big NIL money, seeming like they're on the come up when it comes to facilities and getting the players. I mean, we've seen it softball wise. They're getting all the transfers in the world. They got Arkansas Pine Bluff today. And the big one, number 9 LSU at number 4 Clemson. I would love to hear anyone's thoughts on this game because I feel like anyone I talk to, they're talking about it going either way. I personally am higher on Garrett Nussmeier than I am Cade Klubnik. That doesn't mean I think LSU is going to win, though. In the original Death Valley, I found this out. Clemson is actually the original Death Valley over LSU. LSU beat them, I want to say in the 1950s or something, 1960s, and said, all right, we're taking your name now, and took Death Valley down to Baton Rouge and said, we are now Death Valley. But I think Clemson's defense is top tier. I think they're going to absolutely dominate in the ACC. I think they might have a cakewalk in the ACC. With that being said, there's this year more than ever, and it continues to grow. It seems just the Big Ten and SEC idea of just them being way better than the ACC and Big 12 is just coming alive more and more. So in my head, I'm honestly kind of hopping on that train where if I see a middle of pack Big Ten team or SEC team play a ACC team of any caliber, I almost want to favor that Big Ten SEC. I kind of sound like Paul Feinbaum, who I'm not a fan of. Paul Feinbaum talking about the SEC and just his bias there. But I do have a little bit of that bias. I think LSU and Brian Kelly need this. I think Brian Kelly, since he got to LSU, he struggled in those big games. I almost compare him and James Franklin just a little bit when it comes to them in those big games. It seems like they're not pulling him out, or they're almost finding a way to lose. I have no clue who's going to win this game. I think sometimes we forget that Dabo Swinney is a national championship head coach. Like, he's one of the better head coaches in college football, and he develops guys. He's not attacking the transfer portal like a maniac like some of these others, but he's a good football coach that really knows how to develop. And they're ranked at number 4 for a reason. If I had to put my money on it, put my house on it, I'm going with number 4 Clemson. And it might be by a field goal. and it might be by 14 points. But I think I'm going to go with Clemson in this. It seems like that place is just going to be rocking, and Dabo Swinney is going to have his guys ready. Number 14, Michigan. They're hosting New Mexico. That should be a cakewalk. Excited to see Bryce Underwood make his debut as a Wolverine and see, just what kind of talent he has. He's getting paid millions of dollars to be there. Boosters, Dave Portnoy are going out of their way to make sure that he's a Wolverine. So we'll see what he looks like. Don't expect him to, be the greatest ever, but, because he is a true freshman. But I think if you are that highly ranked, especially if you're playing a New Mexico at home, I want to see that flash a little bit. I want to see why you were ranked that high. I want to see what you've done this off season leading up to the season that shows how Michigan is going to bounce back from last season. Ole Miss hosting Georgia State. I got Ole Miss there. Going to be different without Jackson Dart, who I'm really excited about in the Giants organization. Going to be different. I still think Lane Kiffin has a great grasp on that team at Ole Miss, and he's just so close to getting over that hump. A college playoff berth for Ole Miss this year would be huge, and they're just continuing to trend up, which I think is all due to Lane Kiffin and just the, team he has built there, the culture he's built there, and the guys he's brought in. This is what I'm talking about. I like to see when good teams don't go so out of their way to play bad or just JV small schools. We had number 16 SMU playing East Texas A&M. I like to think I know, a lot of schools and kind of some niche schools, mascots and everything, but East Texas A&M, I don't know much about. I just looked up the college football schedule for today. East Texas A&M doesn't even have a logo on there for them at SMU. Which I'm just curious, like, what's your thought process? I mean, understand, yes, I want to win. That's an easy win for SMU, but are you getting tested? Is it almost like a practice? Because, playing East Texas A&M is going to be a lot different when you get into conference play. We can check out SMU's schedule. So they got Baylor next week. So that will be another good one. They have Baylor at home, and Baylor needs to bounce back after that loss yesterday. And then they go to Missouri State. Interesting away game at Missouri State. I wonder if this is just a game that they're prepping for Baylor. They can say, all right, we'll run some plays. We'll get an idea of what's working, what's not, who are some weapons that we need to attack Baylor with. Understandable, but I love to see, Power 4 teams playing Power 4 teams early week 1. Similar, Arizona State playing their, I won't even say in-state rival, but in-state companion. Northern Arizona at home. That's the number 11th ranked Sun Devils. After a great playoff berth last year, I'm a huge fan of Kenny Dillingham and what he's done there, and Sam Levitt. If they can continue that, Arizona State is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Big 12. Moving on, we got 2 more ranked opponents with ranked teams with their games. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. I got Lenora Sellers. He's one of those guys who right now I think is a good quarterback. By the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he's there for that Heisman ceremony. He's a finalist. Possibly he's the guy that's walking on stage to take that award. He's a freak athlete, and South Carolina needs a guy like him to have a tremendous season if they want to be one of those top 12 teams when it comes to playoff time. Huge on Lenora Sellers. I think he's going to take his game to the next level this season. And we have tomorrow on a Sunday, no NFL football, so we got college football still. We got the Catholics versus the Convicts. Number 6, Notre Dame at number 10, Miami. I don't think Miami's going to win this game, but I do think a lot of people don't give Carson Beck the credit he deserves. I know there have been kind of a few negative things on him just in the media, or like people aren't super high on him. But he did win a national championship. I think people forget that is when he was at Georgia, he was a national champion. So you can say he's not, that great. He transferred out of Georgia. He wanted to go somewhere new. He didn't even enter the draft like he could have. If he was that great, he would have got drafted. But he decides on Miami, and he's a good quarterback. You can say that. I can confidently say that Carson Beck is a good college quarterback. I think he manages a game well. At Georgia, he did have some extraordinary weapons, which not to say Miami doesn't, but probably not to the same caliber of the Georgia Bulldogs. But I'm still really high on him. And CJ Carr got the start for Notre Dame. He's going to make his first start at quarterback. And you never know what you're going to see from these new quarterbacks. I mean, we saw it in the earlier game in Texas and Ohio State. I didn't know what I was going to see out of Julian Sayin. I mean, Arch Manning has started, but this is his year. We didn't know what we were going to see out of him. And I think it's whoever settles in the most. You know, Carson Beck on a new team, CJ Carr for the Fighting Irish, national runner-up last year. Who's going to settle in? Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes? And who, maybe not, if it might not be needed, but who's going to make that big play? Who's going to make the big play that maybe seals the game or sets the tone for the game? I think that's what we're going to have to find out in this Notre Dame-Miami game. Don't go anywhere. We'll close out a little bit on college football talk. I'll just touch on these games, see if there's been any score changes or anything. It's a gloomy Saturday here in Lincoln, Nebraska, but we'll be back next Saturday, hopefully on a beautiful day to watch Akron. Don't go anywhere. We'll touch on these games, finish up on this gloomy Saturday.
93.7 The Ticket is your home for every Kansas City Royals baseball game. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and the rest of the Royals attempt to make the postseason for the second season in a row. And you can hear all the action on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Your home for Kansas City Royals baseball.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hey fans, there's more winning at Amigos with the VIP Game Day giveaway. Every app scan is your chance to win premium tickets to a Nebraska football, basketball, and volleyball game, along with exclusive game day perks. And when Nebraska goes to a bowl, the winner also gets 2 tickets, lodging, and airfare to the bowl game. Weekly semifinalists will win free food for a year. Go Big Red, eat at Amigos, and enter to win.
Amigos is celebrating 45 years with exclusive Nebraska Legends collectible cups featuring Tom Osborne, John Cook, and some of your favorite Huskers. For every cup sold, 50 cents goes to teammates. Show your Big Red pride by getting all 4 of these collectible cups at Amigos.
This is Tom Osborne with the Teammates Mentoring Program. We have students on the waiting list for a mentor. We want you to join the team. Learn more about mentoring and support teammates by visiting Amigos.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
Nutrition Authority invites you to enjoy internet-crushing prices at the back-to-school blowout. We already offer better-than-internet pricing, but from Monday, August 25th through Saturday, August 30th, we're slashing them even deeper. The back-to-school blowout at Nutrition Authority. For location information, check us out at mynutritionauthority.com.
Chorizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Chorizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schwizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back for this last quick segment on 93.7 The Ticket. We got Ticket Weekends. Tristan Gomes here. Talking college football. Going to wrap up a little bit. Just some of the scores of these games. We'll talk about a few of the ones that have already been completed. If you haven't seen, if you didn't watch, you might be a fake college football fan, but Ohio State defeats Texas in the Horseshoe 14-7. Tennessee takes care of business against Syracuse in Knoxville with a score of 45-26. The Hoosiers of Indiana up 17-7 at the beginning of the second half against Old Dominion. Georgia seems like their offense is squared away and continuing to play very well. Up 21-0 against the Sun Belts, Marshall. And crazy news here. Upsets. I love upsets unless it's a team that I want to win, like Oregon or Nebraska. But Florida State up 14-7 against the Crimson Tide at home, and they have the ball. That seems like they came to play. Thomas Castellanos 7 for 7 right now for 81 yards, and he's got 5 carries for 34 and a rushing touchdown. So the Boston College transfer seems like he's making some noise already for the Seminoles. Let's see the stats for Ty Simpson, 8 for 11, 73 yards and a touchdown. Interesting. That's a game I'm going to love to just keep in touch with, see if Florida State can pull it out at home and what that means for Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide if he, doesn't pull this one out. Because this is a game where I think if Alabama really is going to get back to where they were in the Nick Saban era, you got to win these games, especially against a Florida State that really struggled last year going 2-10. These are the games against the ACC opponent you got to dominate. A lot of time left, 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Who knows how this game is going to end? Iowa State keeping up with where they left off, up 24-7 against the South Dakota Coyotes. Penn State 17-3 against the Nevada Wolfpack. And the Oregon Ducks, seems like they're really taking care of business. They showed up ready to play. They're up 24-0 against the Montana State Bobcats. This is awesome to see. Let's see who's scoring. Jaden Lamar and Jordan Davidson, both with touchdowns for the Ducks, as well as Kenyon City, who could arguably be the best tight end in the country. If you got another tight end out there, let me know. I love tight end play. I love getting them the ball. I think it just opens up an offense so much if you have a weapon at tight end. We saw that with Penn State and Tyler Warren last year. He was a matchup nightmare. You felt like you could get him the ball whenever you needed him to. And, I mean, Colson Loveland with the Bears now, him at Michigan, I mean, he was their best target. And you have to figure out who are we going to guard him with. Our cornerbacks aren't as physical. They're not as tall. They might be a little quicker, but we can't put a linebacker because then our tight end is quicker than him. And it's just a matchup nightmare if you have a really good tight end. Hoping we can see a little bit of that out of the Skurs with Luke Lindenmeyer. He played very well. Heinrich Harburg, he's another guy I hope we can get the ball to a little bit more. I don't want to be too picky, though. When you got a whole bunch of weapons, you just got to get the ball to them. You don't have to, say we're going to get it to this guy this many times, and then we're going to get it to him. If something's working, something's working. I think that's what we're going to see a lot out of with Hunter and Dane Key. Whoever's hot, whoever's open, that's who should get the ball. And, one game, maybe one of them has 100 yards, the other has 0. Maybe it flip-flops. We also have Ja'Cory Barney in the mix, who one of the best, true freshman receivers there was last year. I'm expecting a big year out of him too. And then you have Emmett Johnson with just the experience in the backfield, a guy that wants the rock, that wants to run the ball as many times as possible. He's a workhorse. Nebraska's offense has the weapons. I think if they can make sure that Dylan Raiola has the time in the pocket, and he can get it to those weapons, it's going to be huge. That's all you ask for at Dylan Raiola, is give him the time, because he's going to make good decisions. He's not going to force anything. He's matured a lot, and he has the arm talent to get it to whoever he needs to. With that being said, we're going to wrap it up on this Saturday here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Watch some college football. So many great games on. Tune in later, obviously, to the LSU Clemson game. That's going to be just a big one. Night game in Clemson's Death Valley. That's super exciting. Hang around. We got a whole bunch of shows tomorrow. We'll head it to just the national airwaves here in a sec. But thank you for joining me on this Saturday. Watch some college football. Take it all in. Enjoy every moment of it. Don't take this college football season for granted. It's just getting started, and the Ticket is your place to keep in touch with all the action. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we will see you soon.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old-fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Several irrigation contractors in Lincoln go out of business every year, leaving sprinkler system orphans begging for service. The folks at Judson Irrigation shed a tear for these little fellas. They've been coddling these orphans for more than 40 years. From redesign, repairing, replacing, and restoring, remember the Judson Irrigation Orphanage.
Call the Judson Irrigation Orphanage 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help.